Good evening. Good evening. How's everybody? Pandy of Pandy's Hair Candy coming back to you again tonight before I go to sleep. Child, did you all have a chance to check out Iyanla Fix My Life tonight? Oh my God. I'm still in my feelings, y'all. I ain't even gonna lie. Tonight's episode, I believe it was titled Reflections. It was about a mother and a daughter and their volatile generational breakdown of their family relationship. Um, the daughter, whose name was Monique, is a 31-year-old mother. She is the one who reached out to Iyanla in the show um, for some sort of resolution to try to restore the relationship with her mother. Her mother was Miss Cynthia. Miss Cynthia is a 51-year-old woman. And what was so strange is these women were both angry. They both come from a long line of abuse and pain and struggle and hurt. And apparently, Miss Cynthia had Miss Monique at a young age. Like she said, she got caught up in that fast life, like so many of our parents and various family members and friends did back in the day, and she got caught up in the crack game. So basically, to make a long story short, she was doing a bid. She got locked up. The kids got snatched up. The kids ended up getting put in separate foster homes, group home, different family members, and whatnot. So, long story short, Miss Monique had been placed with, I believe she said, the grandparents. And during the time that she was placed with the grandparents and in their custody, she had been being violently sexually abused and inappropriately touched and fondled from the age of 6 and on, which was as far back as she could remember. And when I say you could just see the hurt and the despair on this young lady's face, it was gut wrenching, y'all. I mean, I was literally sitting in my living room crying, watching the show, because I'm a mother. I'm in my mid 40s. I have two sons and a daughter, so I could totally empathize with their situation. And I commend this young lady for actually realizing that, you know what, this is a generational curse, and standing up for herself and trying to take the initiative to try to step out on faith and get some help so that she can heal and so that her and her mom can move forward without all the hurt and the anger and the resentment. And also so that this is not a problem for her and her daughter going forward in the future. Okay, so I digress, y'all. I do apologize. Just giving y'all my little take on what I observed watching the show tonight. Again, it was Reflections, I believe was the title for tonight's episode. Again, Miss Monique initially contacted the show. Initially, she sat down to talk with Miss Iyanla, and she was hurting, and it was clear, but she was open and she was willing. She was willing to do the work. As Iyanla always points out, you need to be willing to do the work. They talked. They kind of went through a brief summarization of what her childhood was like and, what she endured over the years. And what it boiled down to was this young lady really felt hurt and angry at the fact that her mom was locked up and was not around to protect her and her siblings from the hands of abuse that she suffered. And as a result, her and her mother have a very fractured and very volatile, very aggressive, very abusive, dysfunctional relationship, and she wants to mend that. Iyanla also had her stand up and do some exercises before a mirror because part of the healing process was going to be for her to actually speak the things that she felt about herself and that she had not dealt with and put on the forefront. Um, and one of the things that came out in that exercise was the fact that she had cancer, or she had been told she had been diagnosed with cancer, yet this young lady never went back to receive any type of follow-up care. That's how deep the damage went with her, as far as her feeling her self-worth and, her level of, just valuing herself. Um, Next up, Miss Cynthia came and pretty much did the same thing. That's the mother. She sat down and she kind of gave a brief summarization to Miss Iyanla, as well as far as what took place with her growing up. And it was so creepy that both their stories were almost identical, word for word, all the way down to the same people that had abused them. Because when the mother was young, she stayed with the grandparents as well. And I believe it was a neighbor lady and her husband that used to take them when they were children and abuse them, along with the grandmother constantly beating them. She had been through a series of domestic violence involved relationships. She had basically been getting beat. When she found herself pregnant at 19 and found herself in that violent and domestically abusive relationship, she stayed. She said she stayed because that's what she was used to, and that was all she knew. And she was 19, and where else was she gonna go being pregnant? It was either stay at the family members and go through the abuse, or go with this man with the hopes of being free from the abuse, only to land in the hands of a whole different type of abuse. She also did the exercises in the mirror, where she wrote out some of the things that she wanted to address and get healing in. Iyanla then brings them back together to sit down and have a conversation, making them fully aware that they're going to lash out, but that they need to understand it's not the two women before one another arguing with each other, but yet the 12-year-olds inside of them lashing out at one another. And they were able to get some closure, but it almost broke my heart when the mother realized that the exact same thing that happened to her at age 6 had also happened to her daughter, Monique, at the exact same age, at the hands of the same perpetrator. She had never shared that information with her mother. And again, she's 31 years old. The mother's 51. So it was a very touching episode tonight. Iyanla was able to help them identify, these areas that they needed to actually put out there and get out in the open and talk about, and really just hug on one another and love on one another and let one another know, because they both stressed that they felt alone and abandoned. And I think she was able to help them realize how much they really needed to be there for one another. So it was a very good episode. I think it was a great episode, actually. Iyanla helped bridge the gap between these two women. And also at the end, remember I said that Miss Monique never did follow up once she got the initial diagnosis with any type of medical care, and that was kind of alarming, but not shocking considering all that she had gone through. Iyanla Show had reached out to a doctor who reached out to the initial doctor who diagnosed her, and come to find out what she thought was a cancer diagnosis was actually a precancerous diagnosis, which if caught in time and treated would prevent the cancer from growing. So long story short, at the end of the day, she did not have cancer after all. I know that had to be a huge burden lifted off of her spirit, because you could just see it just flee from her. They were happy. It was a good episode. I think they're able to move forward with their healing process. and, you know, just get the help that they need. I like to see episodes of Fix My Life where they end this way. So again, y'all, that's my brief synopsis of Iyanla Fix My Life. The episode was titled Reflections. It is February 2nd, 2019. You guys drop down in the comments and let me know what you thought about the episode. Do you think it was a good episode? Do you think that there's anything that could have been done differently on either Miss Cynthia or Monique's part, or even on Iyanla's part? Let me know what you all think in the comments. If you like the video, please like, share, or subscribe, or all of the above. I thank you guys for coming to my channel, and you all have a good rest of the night. Good night.